Well, folks, here we again for the weekly forecast. And of course, last week we talked about that big trough in the western United States slowly making its way across the state. Pretty much played out as expected. We received some pretty significant rainfall across much of the state east of the Panhandle. Some of the totals that we received have been in excess of 5 inches in isolated locations, but numerous reports of 3+ inches of moisture. That system is slowly grinding its way eastward, and the big question is, are we going to finally now get a period of time where we'll get enough drying that we can start to get back into normal harvest activity, as we're starting to fall behind in terms of where we should be in terms of harvest conditions. So as we go to the upper air models, the first thing we'll draw your attention to is that here is that trough that was a deep trough is starting to flatten out, and most energy moving from an east to west fashion. The main energy in the low pressure systems now bypasses as we try to get high pressure building into the region. So the vast majority of the precipitation that's left today will be across extreme eastern Nebraska and points off to the east and northeast. And then we see as a Sunday, as the trough tries to dig, some of this energy splits off and it's going to move through the southern plains while another piece moves across the northern plains. We're going to kind of caught between these two systems here in Nebraska. It's going to be mainly high and dry. Not much moisture with that trough coming out so far out of the southern Rockies, but as it progresses into western Texas, we'll start to see the moisture increase in the southern plains as a series of upper air low pressure systems moves around that trough, and that will help to generate some pretty active weather over the eastern portions of the Mississippi River Valley, and we may actually see some moisture in the high plains of Nebraska. And then a quick moving shortwave moves through the region on Tuesday. High pressure quickly follows behind it. This is a one to watch. There does appear to be indications that we may see some freezing temperatures across a broad portion of the northern portion of the state, and there also is possibility of some light precipitation as that system moves to the east. On Wednesday, high pressure starts to build into our region, and we should start to see a warming trend and a drying trend in our region. It's going to take several days, of course, to dry out these wet conditions, but you can see we're fairly precipitation free, most of the moisture to our south and up over the Great Lakes. And as we get into Thursday, the ridge starts to build in even more, so our temperatures are going to come back up to near normal conditions. Do show low pressure down the Texas Panhandle, but really there's not a lot of moisture with this system. Very little of it will make it to the surface in Texas. Most will be in northern portions of Mexico, and then the center part of this ridge builds into our region on Friday, leaving us with the possibility of a very dry weekend next weekend, good for harvest activity, and temperatures moving back up to slightly above normal as we go into the weekend. Most of the precipitation stays well to our south. Now as we go to the 8 to 14 day forecast, it looks like the ridging pattern will still remain consistent here in the northern and central Corn Belt, so we're looking at above normal temperatures. In terms of precipitation, the models want to hint at a broad scale ridge across most of the country, keeping us drier than normal. However, the recent tendency has been for these systems coming in the Pacific Northwest, at least the last 3 storms, to move much quicker. So we'll watch to see whether or not this will hold and give us some opportunity to harvest crops, or whether we're going to have to do it under another long period of inclement weather once we get in past next weekend.